Everybody, coming back at you again. It's Video James talking about AFCON, the AFCON Cup of Nations 2019. My predictions and analysis for the upcoming event that's slated to start in mid-June over in Egypt, over in Cairo, being hosted by the former champions, the record-holding champions, Egypt. We've got quite a volatile group of teams this year. If any of you follow African football, then you should know that African football is very volatile. It's very difficult to find a winner. It's very hard to predict anything that's going to happen. In my opinion, in more recent years, it's starting to become a little easier to predict what's going to happen, but as far as I'm concerned, you don't really know who's going to be a favorite going into the tournament until after you've hit the quarterfinals, and even then, you're not really going to have an idea of who could possibly win until the semifinals. It's a very uphill battle to predict what's going to happen at the African Cup of Nations. However, this year, I will say that I think it'll be a bit easier to understand what's going to happen. There's a lot of dark horse candidates, a lot of teams that people aren't thinking about. And without further ado, I'm going to get started with the group stage. First of all, in Group A, we have Egypt, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. A lot of people are showing a little bit of a fascination with Zimbabwe. Personally, I don't see why. I've never seen them as, a high-tier African team. They perform well every once in a while, but from what I've seen of their team from the qualifiers, I don't really think Zimbabwe has what it takes to make it into the top two of this group. I do think they'll make it in the third. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, I do believe, are going to be last in their group. They're kind of falling behind. They're underachieving. Despite their high rank as far as African ranking goes, I can't say that from what I've seen of their team, from what I saw of them in qualifiers, that I'm confident of their abilities going in. The two teams I do think are going to advance from this group are Egypt and Uganda. Egypt in first, Uganda second. I'm very big on the Cranes this year. I do think that they have what it takes to make it to the round of 16. Egypt as the hosts, who have won, I believe it's 3 out of 4 times when they've hosted the African Cup of Nations. They've won the championship itself. They do have the home field advantage. They do have Mohamed Salah. They do have Al Ahly driving in behind the Egyptian national team. I do think Egypt has what it takes to destroy this group. A lot of people are starting to disagree. They're going, maybe Egypt didn't get handed themselves a victory. I'm not so sure. I think they do have two teams that they could easily beat. Uganda, not so much. I do see the Ugandan defense doing a good job. So, Egypt first, Uganda second for Group A. Moving on to Group B, we have Nigeria, Guinea, Burundi, and Madagascar. I believe that is the seeds. Burundi actually might be fourth, Madagascar third. From what I've seen of the Great Eagles, Nigeria did not have an easy time going through qualifications this year, despite their great performance at the World Cup. Literally getting knocked out after an unlucky goal last minute against Argentina in 2018. But I don't see Nigeria coming out on top of this group. I do see Guinea coming out on top. That's my big team for Group B. In second, I see Nigeria, and then Burundi I see as a third-place team that's going to advance, beating out Madagascar. I understand Madagascar is a pretty decent team this year. Personally, despite the nation, really putting their best foot forward after a wonderful performance in qualifiers, I think Burundi has what it takes. I've been looking at their team a little bit. I think, it's a very diverse team. Very few of them are actually from any high-caliber teams. I know Elvis Kamsoba coming from Melbourne, and we also have from Stoke City, Saido Barino, but I think that team is far outweighing the Madagascaran team right now. We also have a few playing in the Scotland league, and we also have a few playing in the Saudi Arabian league for the Super Cup. Though they're not really from high tier Saudi Arabian teams. They're not from Al Ahly or Al Hilal. They're not from, yeah, they also have an Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. But regardless, I do think that their team is just a bit better. It's also a lot younger than the Madagascaran team. Not by much, but averaging out, the team is just that much younger. I think their team is going to come out on top against Madagascar. In Group C, we have Senegal, Algeria, Kenya, and Tanzania. I think this is going to go the way of the seeds. I think Senegal are going to go undefeated in Group C, Algeria right behind them, and then Kenya in third. I think it's a pretty obvious group to see what's going to unfold. Tanzania just sadly hasn't been able to come up to snuff despite qualifying. I believe during their qualification campaign, they went up against Lesotho, Cabo Verde, and Uganda. Uganda beat them pretty handily. Lesotho was able to give them a run for their money. Same with Cabo Verde. I think in Group L, it was a very easy group for whoever was the top seed of that group, whoever was the highest ranked. For Uganda, they made it out handily. Tanzania made it out by the skin of their teeth. If either Lesotho or Cabo Verde won their match, we wouldn't have seen Tanzania advance. We would have seen those two smaller nations advance. I don't see the Tanzanians really making an impact on this tournament. Meanwhile, we have we have Kenya who won their group, I believe, during qualifications. And if they did not win their group, they came in second. Yeah, they came in second right behind Ghana and beating out Ethiopia. Granted, that was an easier group to advance from because Sierra Leone was knocked out and they had the likes of Ethiopia competing with them. But at the same time, I don't see Tanzania going far in this tournament at all. So in Group C, Senegal advances, Algeria advances, Kenya advances as one of the top four third-place groups. Group D, we have Morocco, the Atlas Lions, under Renaud. We have Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. We have South Africa, and we have Namibia. Namibia, again, one of those teams that kind of qualified by the skin of their teeth. Also not going against a very hard group with Mozambique and Zambia. Guinea-Bissau, a little bit higher tier, but still that group came down to the wire. Any team could have advanced. It just so happened to be Guinea-Bissau and Namibia. I don't see Namibia advancing. I do see South Africa, Ivory Coast, and Morocco. Again, this is like a group of death. These are the three that if you could be placed in any group in AFCON, this is not the one you want to be placed in. I see it going the way of the seeds. I see Morocco coming out on top, Cote d'Ivoire coming in second, South Africa advancing as the top four third-place teams in Group D. Group E, I have a curveball for you. I see Mali coming out on top. A little bit of a controversial opinion. Mali, I've been watching their youth team play in the Under-20 World Cup after they defeated Argentina, and had it not been for an own goal during their quarterfinal match with Italy, they would have gone 3-2 with the Italian team, perhaps drawn if they were able to keep up their momentum with their offensive side. I think Mali, as a former runner-up for the competition, their team is a bit surprising. They are a very strong team. Their youth squad is incredibly offensively gifted. If they called up any of their youth, they probably would have given every team here a run for their money. They sadly did not. They have Koulibaly. They have multiple players who are capable of taking on Mauritania, Angola, and Tunisia. Now, most people would have put Tunisia on first. considering they're the top-seeded team. They have Wabi Kazri. I don't see Tunisia going far. Tunisia, I think, well, they did qualify for the competition um, ahead of Egypt by 2 points. Still got served a loss. Still have a very gifted defense, but their offense isn't as strong as some of the teams going in here, especially Mali's. Mali's offense has always been incredible as far as I'm concerned. Seeing them during qualifiers for the World Cup not score a goal against Morocco was very surprising. Consider for me, Mali is a very high-tier offensive team. But I do see Tunisia coming in second. They haven't really been able to get past that wall every competition where they advance to the quarterfinals, but that's as far as they go, which is sad considering they have previously won the competition, and they haven't been able to repeat the success that they've had in years past. So Mali first, Tunisia second. Mauritania, I think this is really a year for the Northern African teams. Mauritania, for the Arab world in general. It was kind of surprising not seeing Libya advance when they were in such a tight race with South Africa, but I think Mauritania, which has really come out of nowhere. This is a team that used to be bottom 30, bottom 40, and all of a sudden they just started winning all their matches. And a lot of people were very surprised by that. They still haven't broken the top 100 mark, but Mauritania, as far as I'm concerned, these Saharan footballers are high tier. Not high tier, but they are a strong enough tier where they can take down Angola. We really haven't seen Angola perform since the World Cup in 2006 when they made their debut. They showed up, they surprised a couple people, and then they disappeared. Angola's team is, maybe it has to do with their inflation, maybe it has to do with internal problems with funding for their national association, but I haven't seen Angola reach the caliber that they had in 2006. I am not confident they'll exit the group stages. Meanwhile, Mauritania coming third will be my final top 4 third place team. I think they'll come out on top against Angola pretty handily. I think they have the defensive capabilities to take on Tunisia, and I know this is coming from a guy who is saying Mauritania will beat Angola despite the only 2 losses Mauritania ever received during qualifications was against Angola, but at the same time, the only 2 losses that Angola received were against Burkina Faso, who didn't qualify for this tournament. I think saying Mauritania are able to overcome the Angolan national side is not a far shot, especially considering how crazy this tournament can actually be. In Group F, we have Cameroon, Ghana, Benin, and Guinea-Bissau. I am not confident in Cameroon. I'm confident they'll make it out of the group stages against Benin and Guinea-Bissau, but I'm not confident that they'll go far in this tournament. They were very lucky to qualify. The Comorian national team were capable of beating them, considering that they managed to draw. Of all things, Comoro managed to draw during qualifications against Cameroon, and Cameroon has really been failing to step things up this year. I mean, I like Eric Maxim, Choupo Moting. I love Tagueru. I love Ndiaye. I love all these guys. I think they're wonderful players. I think at the same time, it's not fair to say that Cameroon, because of their players, because of their material, they're going to be able to advance on into the first place pick. The Ghanaian national team, through thick and thin, meanwhile, has been able to impress everybody. And we have people like Thomas Partey, who's captaining the national team. He plays for Atletico Madrid. We have Crystal Palace player Jordan Ayew. We have Wimbledon player Kwesi Appiah. We have multiple players that are coming from high-tier teams, just like Cameroon. But Ghana has been a lot more consistent. I'd say that because of their coaching staff, that's likely why they're doing a lot better than they normally do. Yeah, I just don't see Cameroon coming out in first. Ghana and Cameroon advancing. Benin, Guinea-Bissau probably going into a draw. Maybe. I don't think either of them have what it takes to be third place. Benin third, Guinea-Bissau third, the third best team. But without further ado, let's run down the teams that I believe would have, advanced. We have from Group A, Egypt and Uganda. From Group B, we have Guinea, Nigeria, and Burundi. Group C, Senegal, Algeria, and Kenya. Group D, we have Morocco, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa. Group E, Mali, Tunisia, and Mauritania. In Group F, we have Ghana and Cameroon. Which means we are going on to the round of 16. Uganda versus Algeria. As much as I love the Cranes right now, I do not see them beating Algeria per se. Algeria, despite not qualifying for the World Cup, are consistently very good, and Uganda, despite coming so close to qualifying for the World Cup last year, coming second in their group, I don't see them taking down what is commonly one of the most dominant teams in Africa. No, I really don't. That North African tradition is going to come through, and I think it's really going to tear apart the Ugandan national team. Uganda, despite putting up a good fight, Algeria advances. Then we have Morocco versus Mauritania. These two neighboring countries, despite me being confident in the debutants Mauritania, Morocco, they have Renaud. They have wonderful players. They're a favorite to win, in my opinion. If you could get past Morocco, I don't know who you could get past. Who else you could get past? You would have a lot of confidence going through the African Cup of Nations, but Morocco has been performing consistently well. Their coaching and players have been consistently good. This is one of those years where Morocco can come very close to the championship. I don't think they'll win it, but definitely advancing to the quarterfinals. Guinea versus South Africa. South Africa haven't been able to repeat their success, even in the 2010 World Cup. Yes, I call that a success. They're showing, despite not advancing into the round of 16, was quite impressive. South African national team usually performs a lot better than most, but Guinea during their qualifications went almost undefeated, if not undefeated, I believe. Yeah, they didn't lose a single match. They came very close to coming in second to Ivory Coast, but they won on point difference by 1, based on Ivory Coast receiving a loss, and then Guinea receiving a draw instead of a loss, so they had 1 more point. I think Guinea is going to take down South Africa. South Africa, in my opinion, are barely going to make it to the knockout rounds. I think Guinea has what it takes to dismantle, or not dismantle, I gotta stop using that word, but to take down South Africa. Ghana versus Tunisia. Like I've been saying, Tunisia, despite having players like Wabi Kazri, haven't been able to go far. Meanwhile, Ghana is always consistently well, no matter what their country's going through, no matter what their association's going through. I think they have a record 6 times making it to the semifinals in the last 6 AFCON tournaments, which is, when you find consistency in AFCON, you have to be very surprised by it. And I think Ghana is going to take down Tunisia. Mali versus the Ivory Coast. Cote d'Ivoire, they haven't really relived the hype that they were given back in 2014 as one of the best African sides. 5 years later, their team is starting to normalize. It's starting to average out a bit. Like I've been saying with Mali, Mali has really been going above and beyond. Their players are getting better and better. Their youth are doing incredible work. They're really tearing up the pitch right now. I think Mali is going to beat Ivory Coast, becoming one of the dark horses advancing in the quarterfinals. Senegal versus Burundi, I don't want to say it's obvious, but Senegal have players like Sadio Mane captaining their team. The Liverpool star that, is now lifting the Champions League trophy above his head. I think they're going to take down Burundi quite handily. Nigeria versus Cameroon. I think this will be one of the toughest matches. I don't see Cameroon advancing. I think the Great Eagles of Nigeria are going to really dominate. I think they're going to make it to the quarterfinals over Cameroon. I know Nigeria, for many, are becoming favorites, especially from Football Fundis. The guys from DW Kickoff are seeing Nigeria winning the whole thing. I don't agree with them, but I do see them advancing in the quarterfinals against Cameroon. And then finally we have Egypt versus Kenya. I think Kenya, sadly, are going for a round of 16 exit. Egypt just have too much going for them, being the hosts and having Mohamed Salah on their side. And Al Ahly tradition. Yeah, I don't see Kenya beating Egypt. So Egypt advances in the quarterfinals. Now, for our quarterfinal matches, we have Algeria versus Morocco. I don't want to bore you with my opinion for this one. I think a lot of people are thinking the same way. I think Morocco is going to beat Algeria. I think Algeria is going for a quarterfinal exit. They still haven't been able to replicate their success from 2014. Their players, they haven't really hit the refresh stage of their players, if you know what I mean. They haven't found incredible new talent. They haven't found an incredible coach. They're just consistently good. Morocco, I think, is consistently better. Guinea versus Ghana. As much as I love the fact that I'm seeing Guinea going into the quarterfinals against South Africa, I'm seeing Ghana beating Guinea. It's not too out of this world to see either of those teams advance, but I think Ghana is going to make it to the semifinals. Mali versus Senegal. Sadly for my Desert Warriors from Mali, I don't think they're going to be able to take down the Senegalese team. Senegal is too good. Senegal, best team in Africa right now. I'll put my money on it. Senegal, best team in Africa. They're going to take down Mali. Nigeria versus Egypt. This is the harder match. In fact, my result for some would be a curveball. I do think Egypt is going to take down Nigeria. Nigeria did perform consistently better in the World Cup last year. Egypt didn't even get a point on the board. That's likely because Mo Salah was injured. Thanks, Sergio Ramos. But I think for Egypt, it's a miracle run where they're making it to the semifinals. I don't see Nigeria advancing and participating in the rest of this tournament. As much as people are saying they're favorites, I don't agree. I love Musa, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about them right now. I think Egypt can make it to the semifinals over Nigeria. For the semifinals, we have Morocco versus Ghana. Morocco, once again, has been consistently very good. Ghana have been consistently very good, but the Moroccan defense is a big deal. I see this game going into penalties, perhaps, or I can see this game being very close, like one goal difference. It could be a 1-0 game, it could be a 2-1 game. But I think Morocco, Al-Maghrabi the Atlas Lions are going to be taking down Ghana. Senegal versus Egypt. Egypt has, in my bracket, gone very far. I think that ends here. Senegal is in my opinion, the favorite to win, with them taking down Egypt. Um, Egypt will probably go down in these semifinals. They kind of had an easy route, all things considered. Taking out Kenya, taking out Nigeria would have been difficult, but I don't think they could get farther past that. I think Senegal will take down Egypt in their own country, and then we'll go on to the third place match. And I don't think Egypt will get third place either. I think they're going to get fourth, Ghana coming in third. For the final, we have two, in my opinion, the two best teams in Africa. I know in the FIFA World Rankings, Tunisia is considered the second best, and what have you. I disagree. With the rankings, of course, I think Morocco, being the second best team, will not get the first place trophy against Senegal. I think for Senegal, this is their year. This is going to be their championship victory. I think, above all else, the Senegalese team have quality, they have quantity in their quality, and they have superb coaching. Same with Morocco. I feel bad for Renaud. I do think that he should have the opportunity to lift the AFCON trophy once again. He'll be very happy with a finals appearance, but he'd prefer a victory. I think his coaching have led them a very long way from what they used to be. Despite me seeing likely that Uruguay, Argentina, Chile, and Paraguay are going to get the World Cup in 2030, I really think that the quality that this team has shown makes me want to have another African World Cup in Morocco. I want the Moroccan national bid to actually accomplish something for once. Whether that means they team up with Spain and Portugal or Algeria and Tunisia. I think Morocco is going to come in second, Senegal first. Senegal really are going to make a dead run, undefeated throughout the entire their entire campaign. There's no denying that Senegal are really the team to beat, and if you do beat them, then my whole predictions change. But for now, Senegal to win the championship, Morocco second, Ghana third, Egypt fourth. If you liked this video, please comment, like, subscribe. If you didn't like this video, comment what you thought was wrong with it, disagree with me. I love to hear discourse on YouTube, of course. And I'll be seeing all of you later when I start my predictions for the Gold Cup, which is a really up-in-the-air competition this year, with debutantes Guyana, with Jamaica, Costa Rica, the United States, Mexico. A lot of teams that didn't return for this year's Gold Cup, a lot of teams that are coming in now for this year's Gold Cup. It's going to be a lot more complicated than a lot of people realize. People are going to go for the seeds. That's not what I'm going to go for, necessarily. And if I do, it's going to be very close. So, yeah. While I start working on that, enjoy the FIFA Women's World Cup. Enjoy any of the upcoming competitions that you're watching. I hope you enjoyed Portugal beating the Netherlands for the UEFA Nations League final. While it broke my heart, I feel for my Dutch friends out there who all wanted the Netherlands to win. So yeah, we're seeing quite a wild year in terms of football, especially on the international stage. And I can't wait to be commentating more on that in the future. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Video James, signing off.